prompt starters and prompt finishers. So shall we?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll stop the share while Jean does her talking. Yes, for the
Awesome.
screen.
Yes.
Here we go.
And Marcy, we won't be able to see any of the audience members, only the panelists that are speaking tonight. She just asked a quick question. So,
yeah. Well, good evening and welcome everybody. I'm Jane Shapiro, Chair of the Steering Committee of 100+ Women Who Care, Cheshire County, and welcome to our 18th meeting of this particular chapter of 100+ Women. I'd like to welcome specifically those who have joined either at or since our last meeting: Christine Riley, Heidi Stancliffe, Heather Jasmine, Kate Van Welly, Joanne Murphy, Stacy Robbins, and just about an hour ago, Heather Minkler. So welcome. Additionally, I know we have a number of guests with us this evening, so a special welcome to you. And I'd like to give a shout out to one guest in particular who is joining us this evening from South Carolina, Barbara Thomas. Barbara was the person who first introduced me to the concept, to the whole idea, to 100+ Women Who Care about 6 or so years ago. And my wheels immediately started turning. Fast forward to now, and as of late this afternoon, this particular chapter has 303 members. So delighted to have you with us, Barb, and all of the rest of our members, of course. Let me just remind everyone that this format is a Zoom webinar, slightly different from the Zoom meetings that many of you have been using the last few months. You are the audience, and as such, we don't see or hear you, nor can you see or hear each other. But you can communicate with us through the chat function, and you access that at the bottom of your screen, just to the left of the little green thing that says share screen. There's one that has a bubble, conversation bubble, and says chat. And if you click on that, it'll open up and you can type out anything that you would like to say to us. And Brett and Courtney will monitor that during the entire meeting, as well as any questions that you have for our presenters. They will be looking in the chat for those, and that's how you will be able to ask questions later on. After all 3 presentations, a poll will appear on your screen, magic. And if you are a member, simply check your choice and submit the poll. That way we'll be able to announce the chosen organization at the end of this meeting, just like always. If you are a guest, we ask that you please do not complete the poll. Only members are allowed to vote, and we request that you honor that. I'd like to acknowledge the work done by the steering committee, which continues to meet safely, keeping our group running smoothly, and dealing compassionately and capably with the many bumps in the road that we encounter. Especially like to thank Courtney, whose dedication and technological expertise enables our group to continue our work on this platform. So big applause for Courtney. Hear all that applause. In addition to Courtney, I thank Brett Thielen, also on the screen. Brett maintains our website and our Facebook page. Lisa Marr, Judith Putzel, Bridget Hansel, and Rhonda Lake, our wonderful, wonderful steering committee. I know that all of us are grateful that we've been able to continue our work, though not being able to meet in person. And we are desperately longing for the time that we can all be together again. One thing that keeps the steering committee spirits up are the messages that you send us in between our meetings. And I'd just like to read a sampling of the messages that we got since our February meeting. Another great meeting. Lack of personal interaction balanced by having the meeting on a snowy night and not having to leave home. Thank you for leading this effort of 100+ women. It's mighty impressive. I'm so happy to be a member. I do enjoy the Zoom meetings and do look forward to getting back to in-person gatherings someday. Thanks to all the steering committee for making it happen. And then one that was specific to Stonewall Farm, which is the organization we chose last time, saying, great place to contribute. Another, thanks for keeping 100+ going during the pandemic. Stay safe and healthy. And then one with a little contrite. Well, I did a little better this time on my payment, not spot on though. I'm so appreciative of the dedicated women who continue to make this organization support our community. And last, my very favorite, and this one I will name the author, who was Penny Vane. I'm sorry to have missed the meeting on Monday. It is my favorite Zoom experience. My fourth grandchild was born that evening at precisely the time you were voting for Stonewall Farm. See you next time, Penny. Our chapter of 100+ Women Who Care is not an official organization as such. We're not a 501c. Rather, we are conveners of this amazing giving circle of women. We do, however, have some expenses, which were previously covered by donation jars that we put out on the refreshment tables when we met in person. Now, in our 5th Zoom meeting without donation jars, we sent a request a month or so ago to you, our members, and were truly taken aback by the generosity with which you responded to that request. We received $2,101.47, and that is going to cover all our expenses for many, many meetings to come. Our deepest thanks to all of you. This is the time when I give you 6 reminders. And I really appreciate the patience of those members who attend every meeting. I know it's repetitive for you, but these issues and questions continue to come up in between each and every meeting. So number 1, please use our website as a source of information about our donations and how we work. Brett does a wonderful job of keeping both the website and Facebook page updated, and she'll have this meeting's news posted just as soon as possible. If you are a guest and after this meeting you decide you'd like to join, you'll find the commitment form on the website. Simply fill it out and send it in to the email or snail mail address that's right on the form. And our website address is 100pluswomencheshirecounty.com. You'll see that later in the meeting up on the screen. Number 2, a reminder that you can put all of 2021's meetings on your calendar right now. You can even put next year's meetings because we always meet on the first Monday of February, May, August, and November. So our next meeting is Monday, August 2nd. Number 3, we are part of a network of over 700 chapters from all over the US and at least 10 other countries. Our chapter's name is 100+ Women Who Care Cheshire County. We have a sister chapter in Peterborough whose name is 100+ Women Who Care Monadnock. When members see articles in the paper, sometimes it's a little confusing. So just remember that we are Cheshire County. Number 4, only members can submit nominations, and only members can present a nomination at a meeting. Again, all the nomination instructions are right on the website. Nominators can invite a non-100+ member from their organization to join them during the Q&A portion of their presentation. Number 5, we've had several questions in the past about making online donations an option for members. We tried offering that option in the last few quarters, and about 50 to 60 of you chose to donate that way each time. So I'll give you more detailed instructions before I announce the name of our chosen organization at the very end of the meeting. If you send a check, do not make your check out to 100+ Women Who Care. It must be made out to the chosen organization, which you will learn at the end of this meeting. That name will also be listed on our website, and Courtney will send out an email tomorrow, or maybe even later tonight, depending on what Courtney has in store for after the meeting. I just emphasize that getting your checks in really makes our work easier and enables our chosen organization to put your donation to work sooner. At the last meeting, oh, those are all our reminders. So this is the exciting part, or one of the exciting parts. At our last meeting, I reported that our donations during the Zoom meetings had been noticeably lower than when we met in person. Well, that was not the case for February. Through your generosity, the persistence of our steering committee and follow-up, we just got the last check for February 3 weeks ago. I'm pleased to report that we gave $16,281 to Stonewall Farm for their outdoor education and remote learning program, as well as an additional $775 to Feeding Tiny Tummies and $803 to the Cheshire Children's Museum. And if that weren't exciting enough, hang on to your seats. And when I say this, just imagine that we're in one of those great big halls. And when I make this announcement, balloons are going to come down and confetti is going to come down. And there's going to be all this blaring, exciting, celebratory music, because since our inception in 2016, we have given $249,985 to 18 chosen organizations and an additional $13,633 to 27 organizations which were nominated but not chosen, a total of $263,618. That's over $250,000 into our community out of your pockets and from your hearts. So thank you. And now for this evening's nominations. Each quarter we give nominations of wonderful each quarter we receive nominations of wonderful organizations and programs that serve our vulnerable citizens and animal friends, enrich our children and entire community through the arts and through connection to the natural world, or strengthen our local safety nets and resources. Some are repeat nominations, but each and every time we have new ones too. I love that at each and every meeting, all of you arrive with your hearts and minds open, anxious to learn which 3 organizations were chosen to present. That's the surprise part of the meeting. Listen carefully to the presenters and make your choice for which organization you would like to receive this quarter's collective donation. And then celebrate at the end that organization which is chosen. We received 8 nominations for this evening's consideration, and they are Keene Housing Kids Collaborative. The Keene Housing Kids Collaborative is an organization which helps kids living in Keene housing seek funding to ensure low-income students are able to participate in enrichment activities over the summer, nominated by Liz Chipman. Keene Senior Center, nominated by Peg Monahan. Keene Senior Center supports independence and promotes social connections for older adults. It seeks funding for their building improvements project for interior and exterior work to make their facility more accessible and safe to reopen. The Cheshire Children's Museum, nominated by Deb Ganley. Cheshire Children's Museums for All, which provides hands-on educational experiences for children through the power of play, seeks funding for the continuation and expansion of social service agency outreach, allowing all children to access the museum. Apple Hill Center for Chamber Music, nominated by Rebecca Sales. Apple Hill Center for Chamber Music, known for its teaching and performance at the highest level, seeks funding for construction of a deck with a ramp to allow for safer public occupation and access for our audiences. MCVP, Monadnock Center for Violence Prevention, is the Domestic and Sexual Violence and Stalking Crisis Center for the 44 towns of the Monadnock region. They seek funding for their Economic Justice Fund. They were nominated by Robin Christofferson. The Colonial Performing Arts Center, nominated by Vicki Pittman. The Colonial Performing Arts Center seeks funding to relaunch its highly regarded education and outreach school programs, to expand the learning experience and help provide a greater sense of normalcy for our students and schools. Project Home, nominated by Jennifer Kiernan and Susan Hay. Project Home provides a community-based alternative to detention for asylum seekers seeking safe harbor at our borders. Asylum seekers live with host families while preparing and presenting their case, and we help them become independent community members. Monadnock Humane Society, nominated by Kathy Collinsworth. Monadnock Humane Society cares for straight and surrendered animals, assists with cruelty, helps financially challenged community members through our pet food pantry program, and more. They're seeking funding for their animal safety net program. So a very impressive list of organizations doing just amazing work in our community and meeting many, many needs. Unlike our in-person meeting, where we select 3 organizations to present right in front of you, have you pick them out of a basket. We've done that in advance, and that's in order so that we can make sure that our technology works for this meeting with all of the presenters. So at a Zoom meeting of the steering committee last Monday, we watched Peter Hansel, who's our stalwart and very honorable volunteer, pull 3 names out of the bowl. And they are the Keene Housing Kids Collaborative, the Apple Hill Center for Chamber Music, and the Keene Senior Center. So we'd like to have presentations from each of those. And I will now introduce Liz Chipman, who is going to present for the Keene Housing Kids Collaborative.
Can't hear you, Courtney.
Looks like you're muted, Courtney.
Sorry about that. I said, Liz, you can start whenever you'd like. We
Okay,
can hear you. I'm
great.
sorry.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Liz Chipman. I'm the Executive Director of the Keene Housing Kids Collaborative and a proud member of 100+ Women Who Care Cheshire County. And this evening, I'm here to advocate for more than 500 kids living in our community. These are kids who live in Keene housing properties in Keene and Swansea and in apartments scattered around Cheshire County. These kids live in households with a median annual income of about $25,000. And their parents want for them the same things that everyone wants for their kids: to be happy, to make friends, do well in school, grow up and be successful. But if statistics hold true for these kids, 65% of them, the majority, will as adults remain in the same economic circumstances that they're growing up in now. So the Keene Housing Kids Collaborative is working to change the outcomes for these kids. We believe in human potential, and we believe that every child should have the opportunity to fulfill their potential regardless of their circumstances. And we also know that we as a community are missing out on the contributions that these kids could make if they did reach their full potential as fully successful adult members of our communities. The COVID-19 pandemic forced most schools to move to remote learning. Kids were at home accessing lessons via the internet. Uncertainty and anxiety surrounding in-person learning, erratic schedules, and negative impacts on parents who are forced to simultaneously juggle work, unanticipated childcare needs, full-time parenting, and managing their children's academic schedules made learning very difficult for many students. Throughout 2020, the Kids Collaborative worked to support kids in this new learning environment by ensuring that households had internet connectivity. We provided Chromebooks for students, and we also established a Zoom tutoring program. Even so, for many kids living in households struggling to make ends meet, remote learning resulted in increased social isolation and greater gaps in learning. Households receiving rent assistance from Keene Housing are home to, as I said, more than 500 children, ages birth to 17. The school-aged children in that group represent nearly 10% of the total student population in the Keene School District. So positive changes for kids living in Keene Housing will mean positive changes for the school district and for our community at large. We know that in general, low-income kids enter kindergarten behind their more well-off classmates and fall further behind during the summer. This is called the summer slide. Kids who do not participate in enrichment activities over the summer lose 2 to 3 months academically, compared with kids who do participate who gain about 1 month academically. And this cycle repeats itself year over year, so that by the time a low-income child reaches 5th grade, they're around 2.5 to 3 years behind their more well-off peers. And this does show up in data from the Keene School District in state math and reading scores. So these kids were struggling and are struggling, even without the added challenges of remote learning and social isolation imposed by COVID-19. So one of the ways that we can give kids the tools to succeed is to give them access to these summer activities. And this summer, accessing enrichment opportunities for kids that support social, emotional, and mental well-being is more important than ever. So we're fortunate. The Keene area offers a rich variety of summer experiences for kids, and those kids whose parents have the resources to spend on summer activities can explore any interest from science to art to theater or athletics. However, parents supporting a family on $25,000 a year, most Keene Housing parents, simply don't have the disposable income to do this for their kids. So that's where we come in. We pay tuition and program fees, we manage applications, we tell parents about what's available for kids, and we act as a general clearinghouse of information. And parents, for their part, enroll their children in community activities through our programs, transport their children to and from activities, manage schedules, and ensure that their children attend those activities. The longstanding culture of cooperation and sharing between community organizations in Keene has enabled us to form partnerships with more than 30 youth-serving organizations in the community. And for summer programs, we currently have partnerships with Stonewall Farm, Kids on Campus, Swamp Bats, Keene Parks and Rec, Swansea Day Camp, Camp Dakota, Mocha Arts, Keene Family YMCA, Greater Keene Youth Baseball and Softball, and True Hope Horsemanship. Funds from 100+ Women Who Care, Cheshire County, would be used to pay tuition and program fees for children to participate in summer enrichment opportunities that support learning, connection with peers, social and emotional well-being. Your support will allow kids to participate in summer programs to learn about nature and the world around them, learn to swim, work on teams, create, perform on stage, make new friends, set goals, persevere, communicate, and master new skills so that they can enter school in the fall ready to re-engage, reconnect, and learn.
Thank you so much, Liz. And your timing was perfect.
I tried.
Yes, well, you succeeded for sure. And I think I'd like to invite Ricky Greenwald to join you now for the Q&A portion, correct?
Yes.
Is
Yep.
Ricky on the screen?
I see her, yes.
Okay, hi. Hi, Ricky. Welcome. So people who have questions for Liz or Ricky, please put them in the chat, and Courtney and Brett will monitor that and ask the questions. So we have 5 minutes for Q&A.
All right, first question is pre-COVID, how many kids participated in these offerings? And I guess I would add, how many do you anticipate participating this summer, if you know?
Okay. In 2019, we had 278 kids participate in activities for the year. We had about 85 or so participate in summer activities. Last year, we had about 60 kids over the summer and 216 over the course of the year. So a lot of programs were closed, obviously. Yeah.
How do you determine which kids get what programming?
Any child that lives in a Keene housing household can participate, and it's kids and parents who decide what they want to participate in.
Without this funding, what will you plan to do for the children?
We will do the same thing. We just might not be able to do as much. We do have to sometimes put limits on participation if we run out of funding for a particular partner or for programs.
There's some other questions coming in on the Q&A feature instead of the chat. So I'm going to read a couple of those. Do you ever provide transportation?
We do not. That's one of our dreams. We know that transportation is a huge need, and we've been talking with the Monadnock Regional Coordinating Council. They recently had or a couple years ago, had a youth transportation kind of forum. We're participating with that group, trying to figure out a way to manage that. We don't have the capacity to do that right now, but that's definitely a need.
Do you have other sources of funding for scholarships?
Well, all of our funding is either, we have a service contract with Keene Housing, so that's part of our budget. That's about 45% of our budget, and the rest of our funding comes from fundraising, fund development, special events, grants.
One question on the chat was, how much do you spend on each child?
Well, that depends. It averages to around $600 per child if you average all our youth programming expenses and divide it by all of our children. But it's very variable, depending on the program and depending on how many programs a certain child participates in. We try not to limit what a child wants to try. One of the things that we believe in is that kids learn by trying and by trying new things, and they might find what sparks them. So the more they get to try and explore, the more likely they are to find something that really ignites them.
How long have you been in existence?
We were incorporated in 2015, and then started programming in earnest in 2016.
Do you receive discounts on programming through your local partnerships? And how else is the program funded? Which I think you answered this.
Yeah, so it really varies from partner to partner. We try not to, we know that many of our partners are nonprofits themselves, so we try to work out something that is sustainable both for them and for us. So, for example, some of them match, like it might be 50% from their funding and 50% from our funding that pays for the scholarships, and there are other programs that we pay full tuition for. It really varies from partner to partner. Again, we want to work out something that works for both them and us in the long run.
How long are the camp sessions?
It's going to depend on what they sign up for, whether they're going to go to MoCo, Arts, or Camp Dakota, or art lessons, or any other enrichment activity. So it varies.
Makes sense. And what are the ages of the children?
So we service children, preschool all the way up to 18, but we're kind of focusing for the programs this summer on more of the like the 10 to 15 age group. That might, older kids are tending to work, so they may not be wanting to take in, and the preschool kids are not eligible for some of these activities. So it lowers it down maybe to, maybe 10 to 14 or 15.
Yep, we just have a few more seconds for questions, maybe 15 seconds. So any last questions?
I see one more.
Keene Housing Authority is mentioned many times. Please tell us again which communities in addition to Keene have access to Keene Housing Authority programs.
There's a lot of kids in Swansea, and then there's private market apartments also can have rent assistance through Keene Housing. So Troy, Alstead, Winchester, Marlborough, really scattered around Cheshire County, but the majority of our kids live in Keene and Swansea.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Liz and Ricky. It's a wonderful program for sure, and we really appreciate you bringing it forth to our membership.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you. So next we will hear from the Apple Hill Chamber Center, and Rebecca Sales will be speaking.
She should be coming on just there.
There she is.
Oh, Rebecca, you're muted. There you go.
Thank you. As Development Director of Apple Hill, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to share our plans and request for support with you this evening. Located on 100 wooded acres in Nelson, Apple Hill has benefited the residents of Cheshire County as a center for the teaching and performance of chamber music for the past 50 years. We offer summer workshop sessions that bring together 300 teenagers and adults of all ages and backgrounds who strive for their full potential as musicians and as human beings through the skills of communication, cooperation, and respect acquired from playing music in small groups. Participants hail from across the US and around the world and are coached by faculty mentors on our campus of farm buildings and cabins. Students share the pieces they've learned in public concerts each weekend. We offer a robust financial aid program for 1/3 of our students, including 10 local scholarships. Throughout the summer, Apple Hill also presents a popular public Tuesday evening series of 10 concerts featuring the internationally acclaimed Apple Hill String Quartet, summer faculty, renowned guest artists, and Apple Hill alumni. Our programs are designed for broad appeal to music lovers and those newly curious to be inspired by standard chamber music repertoire, works by regional and local composers, and music of other cultures. Each concert attracts a capacity audience of 100 people to the main barn, drawing from all 23 towns in Cheshire County, with students watching their faculty coaches perform from the balcony loft and dozens of others listening while enjoying picnic suppers on the lawn. Performers and composers lead free, interactive pre-concert talks and actively mingle with audience members and students before and after concerts. Since March 2020, we have offered limited educational workshops and concerts streamed in digital format, including programs recorded from Cheshire County locations. As a performing arts organization, we create a positive force in the area's nonprofit ecosystem for enlightenment, education and entertainment, and community healing, a salve for the soul. And yet, we will be the last sector to return to what we knew as normal. When that time comes, with your help, we will be ready. In fall 2019, after years of preparation and planning, we broke ground on a major renovation project of our concert barn and its attached multi-purpose studio, kitchen, and restrooms. Construction came to a halt in March of 2020 as Apple Hill closed due to COVID. We struggled financially from a 45% drop in earned revenue from tuition fees, concert ticket income, fees for educational services, and concert program book advertising. As we steady our operations with COVID-19 recovery funds and the generosity of our donors, we are now redevoting attention to the building project, which was left vulnerable in its incomplete state of finish and funding. Resumed last June, the project is now in its final phase, the construction of a 1,200 square foot deck with ADA ramp, creating additional outdoor space for socially distanced music making and listening, socializing and dining, and providing additional entry and egress from the concert barn, alleviating congestion and providing ramped access to the fully renovated kitchen, which serves 14,000 meals a summer, and a new handicap accessible restroom on the main level of the concert barn. Those of you who have been to Apple Hill know the inconvenience of having to trek across campus down the barn's back stairs at intermission to use a restroom. This project relies on funds outside the routine facilities and piano maintenance in our annual operating budget. To date, we have raised $180,000 from 6 foundations and $130,000 from individuals, with another $40,000 to raise for the deck, ramp, and completion of the restroom. While we have managed the work to budget, costs of construction materials have skyrocketed in recent months. And every step of the way, we are balancing choices and making decisions toward our goals in the most feasible and cost-efficient ways. Yes, funding will be used to buy wood and screws, but ultimately we are building for the future to preserve a special environment where the rustic setting, diverse people, and mission of the organization converge. Improvements to our home are necessary for the safety, comfort, and enjoyment of all who will return to participate in our chamber music workshop and summer concert barn series, priceless fixtures on our county's cultural landscape. During this time when our programming cannot be achieved in its full range, this funding makes it possible to stay on track for a partial opening in August and for continued community engagement over the next 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. And now for the Q&A, Rebecca will be joined by Judy Waterston.
Judy is on our board.
Great.
Okay, first question. You stated that money from this organization, you stated that money from 100+ would help with student tuition. If so, what % of your students are local and what are tuition fees for youth?
I'll answer that. This particular request is for the capital project. We do have a robust tuition program in a normal summer. In 2019, we offered $200,000 to 131 students. That is from all over the country and other countries as well, with 20 students from New Hampshire, 10 of those local on scholarship. So we raise that money throughout the year.
Does anyone else have any questions? Here we go. Can you briefly describe the costs in your project?
Sure, we did the overall project was a renovation, a large bump out of our winter rehearsal room. We actually changed out the heating and air conditioning systems, ventilation. We've dealt with plumbing, heating, electric systems, some of the stuff you will not see that was really out of date. And an expansion of the kitchen, which also involves new equipment, a commercial dishwashing system, and now this is the final phase of access points to the concert barn.
Any other questions from folks?
Costs of project and final phase. Oh, how much more money do you need to raise to complete the project?
We're looking to raise $40,000 for the completion of the deck, ramp, and restroom. There will be some additional labor and oversight costs as well.
How many people come to Apple Hill on a normal year?
Judy, I don't know if you want to jump in.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
we have 300 students who come, and that's over the course of that's 5 10-day sessions. And we have 2,500 people who attend student and the faculty concerts throughout the summer.
Very good.
Any more questions? Well, Apple Hill is certainly an asset to our community and our region, and we thank you very, very much for presenting.
Could I just say, Jane,
Sure.
if I may, you know, I hope we are up against some very deserving organizations, as you are all hearing, but I really hope that we have presented to Apple Hill as a wonderful organization, and my hope would be that everyone would experience Apple Hill in some way in the coming year, either virtually through our concerts or once we're back in operation, our concerts both in Nelson and in Keene and other locations across Cheshire County. We're very blessed to have such a rich arts community.
Thank you. Yes,
There was
we are.
one last question. Is admission charged for concerts?
We do charge an admission ticket for the public faculty series of $30, but there are also free, that's for a reserved seat on the floor, on the main level of the barn. There's additional seating in the upper level as well as on the lawn. And what the deck will do is enable listeners to actually listen to concerts from the deck while they picnic. Many people come and picnic. We also serve a buffet supper with a cost to cover the meal of $10 or $15.
Great.
We have concerts, however, on the weekends that we do not charge for, and people sitting on the lawn, enjoying a picnic supper, we do not charge for that.
That's right. There's a marathon of student concerts throughout the weekend, 6 hours of student music making each weekend at the end of each session. And those are free and open to the public and overflowing.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. So it's now time to hear from our third organization, the Keene Senior Center, and I'd like to introduce Peg Monahan.
Should be coming up, right? Okay, good. You can start whenever you'd like, Peg.
Alrighty. Well, the Keene Senior Center is very near and dear to my heart. I was the executive director there for 4 years before Cameron Tees, and I know this building really, really well, like probably every inch of this building. And the project that Keene Senior Center is proposing to do is to do interior work to make the flow of traffic be safer and easier for people participating. And also to build an exterior ramp that will go off from the front of the building and wrapped, and people would go in the front door, which would be expanded. Now I need to tell you a little bit about the building because I took a little one-person poll earlier today, and I asked Courtney if she knew where the Keene Senior Center was, and she didn't know. And I'm thinking, oh, I guess I need to explain this. So if you go down Court Street, now you have to use your imagination here. You go down Court Street, past Summer Street, and past Burke's accounting firm. The Keene Senior Center is next. It's one of those beautiful Court Street buildings that was built a long time ago. It was originally the home and the office for Dr. Almquist, who was a local physician. His office was what is now the executive director's office. And the family lived upstairs on the second floor. There's a third floor attic. I don't think anybody was ever up there. And the building has been added on to a couple of times. But the original building is cut up into a whole bunch of little rooms because they had a dining room, they had a pantry, they had a living room. They had all these buildings, all these rooms in this old building. And today, we still use those rooms, but they're a bit of a hodgepodge. And what the interior work will do will be to create a corridor through all of those rooms so that people can go from one end of the building to the other without interrupting classes in the library and the kitchen operation and so forth. So it's a real streamlining of the interior of the building, putting in some new storage, things that make a lot of sense. The exterior of the building is a beautiful brick building on the front of the building, and the rest of it and the back of the building is more cement block and was put on in the 70s and the 80s. And there is an exterior ramp now, but it was put on before ADA compliance. So it's not quite, it's very usable, but it's not perfect. And it's not to the front room. So this project will make the building a lot more accessible and actually will expand the use of the largest room, which is in the back of the building, will expand that room about 60%, because right now, much of that room is being taken up by a registration in a little office back there. So using the building more efficiently will make a big difference. The project is going to cost $150,000, a whole lot less than spending millions of dollars on a new facility. And they've already raised $100,000. So we're looking to raise another $50,000. So a donation from 100 Women Plus will make a big difference in the next $50,000. My partner in this is Cameron Tees, who is known to many of you. He's been in the community forever. And he's now the current executive director, and he's going to fill you in on the rest of the details. Oh, I need to say one more thing. If you make a donation, when you make a donation, you can make a donation online by going to the thekeenseniorcenter.org, and you need to say the Keene Senior Center, because there's a Keene Senior Center in Texas, so you don't want to go that way. You want to go to ours. And you'll also see a architectural drawing of the work that's being proposed.
So we have about 10 seconds left in the 5 minutes, and then we'll have 5 minutes of Q&A.
Okay.
So
Feel free to write in to the chat with questions.
Thank you.
How many seniors does the center serve and what programs do you offer?
I'll let Cam answer that.
Thank you. Good evening. We have 431 members as of before we closed. Based on the number of people that are calling to see when we're opening, I think we're not going to lose too many.
And what programs do you offer?
Wellness programs are in general, but that could comprise of fitness like yoga or age in motion, nutrition, which would be lunches. We were serving 4 lunches a week, including Saturday, and socialization underpins it all. We also have education and entertainment. So a lot of the programs we've been trying to do, and this has been, Peg started this, but intergenerational. We have collaborations with the Keene Y with little kids coming and doing projects here. We have the Greater Keene Rotaract Club meets here, and we do a lot with them. So a lot of the programs, we collaborate with other organizations, and we try to really encourage the intergenerational side of things.
What are your other sources of funding?
It's a myriad, like a lot of nonprofits. Peg had brought car donations, which with our allegiance or affiliation with Leon's brings in about $14,000 a year. Memberships bring in about $20,000. We keep our membership cost at $60, so it's affordable. But that means we have to do a lot of other things to raise money. Could be the senior swingers, our singers, raising $3,000 from their annual show. So grants are obviously very important to us. The largest source of funding is probably memberships is like 15%. So there's a lot of, it takes a village.
What is the anticipated start time of renovation, and will you need to shut down during that time?
So we're trying to make lemonade out of the lemon of COVID and us being closed. We started the fundraising last summer for this, and we thought that it wasn't a prerequisite to reopen, but as Peg said, it's going to mean that there can be one-way flow through the building, front to back and out the back door now after a class. So that's better in terms of COVID or any kind of viruses. We would like to have both the interior and the exterior done before we reopen. We're hoping to reopen this summer. We've raised about 100,000, as Peg said. That gives us the ability to start the interior work as we continue to raise for the exterior work. The interior work's about 42,000. And it's that hallway, it's leveling floors, it's the hallway is the primary thing, but some other safety things. So as we continue to, so we started last week. GPI Construction started knocking through walls to get from the front living room area, reception area to be to the back dining room without having to go through any other, like the library or computer training area. So, and we're hoping if we can raise the 450 to go out on, well, we're out for bids now on the exterior work. We don't have it finalized yet, but we're hoping to be able to go right into the exterior work. So that was all done when we reopened.
Were you
And-
able to, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions.
Were you able to receive any PPP funding?
We did for wages, and that helped keep me on and a part-time administrative person. We have also put in for and we also got some nonprofit relief that we got air purifiers that we'll have. And we're also trying to get a loan through the Economic Development Injury Disaster. We don't have that yet, but we're trying to get the loan just in case, but we don't want to really go into long-term debt if we don't have to.
So
And
one more
yep.
question.
Do you find that connectedness is the key reason for seniors to join?
I think the social isolation that has been compounded by the by COVID is the primary reason that we're in existence. I mean, there's a lot of other good organizations that do the different things that we do. We try to do it under one roof at an affordable cost. And the socialization is the underpinning of all of it.
So,
Great.
well, thank you, Peg, and thank you, Cameron. And the
Thank you.
Senior Center is certainly a valuable organization for a segment of our population that is vulnerable. So thank you so much. So now is the time for our poll, which is going to magically appear on your screen. And I might remind you, I'll read the names of the 3 organizations and what they're seeking funding for one more time. And that's the Keene Housing Kids Collaborative, seeks funding to ensure low-income students are able to participate in enrichment activities over the summer. Apple Hill Center for Chamber Music seeks funding for construction of a deck with ramp to allow for safer public occupation and access for audiences. And the Keene Senior Center, which seeks funding for their building improvements project for interior and exterior work to make their facility more accessible and safe to reopen. So while you're making decisions, click on that, that poll and then make sure you hit the submit button. And then I would like to introduce during this time while that's being collected, Susan Ashworth, Serene Sarna, and Mary Lucas. They are all from Home Healthcare, Hospice, and Community Services. And we chose that organization last November to fund their newly developed dementia care program. And they're going to tell us just how our donations made a difference to them. So welcome, Serene, Mary, and Susan.
Thank you, Jane. Just briefly, HCS had the good fortune to receive the funds from 100 Women, from 100+ Women Who Care in Cheshire to design, structure, and launch a much needed program for caring for people with memory impairment at home. And the statistics had shown that southwestern New Hampshire, and this particular, had the highest volume and density of those with diagnosis of Alzheimer's and dementia. And what we had planned was to have a program where we would go into the homes and provide care primarily with a licensed nursing assistant who could get dementia certified and provide respite for the families or the caregivers and just do non-pharmacological interventions. It could be as simple as helping them with dining. It could be companionship, but also you're going to hear in a minute how some people were not able to leave their home and they were able to have these services. 6 months ago, we didn't have a name for the program. It's HCS, Memory Care at Home. We have hired LNAs, licensed nursing assistants. As I mentioned, people have become dementia certified, and we have launched the program, and including reaching out, Mary Lucas contacted people who used to attend the closed Castle Center, which we look forward to reopening at the end of summer, and finding out how we could help. And she knew the needs of many of the families caring for children at home, working remotely, while also caring for their parents. And I'm going to just share with you, we've had referrals from this group, we've had community referrals, and also through Walk-in Wednesdays, which continued through the entire COVID period. We've had great success and look forward to expanding. In closing, before I transfer to Susan, this funding allowed us to get a program much needed off the ground, but also as we reach out and expand, the questions we are asked is, where are you getting funding now? And we can credit the 100+ Women Who Care in Cheshire County. And I'll turn it over to Susan for the powerful testimonials.
Susan, you can start whenever you'd like.
Okay, thank you, and good evening, everyone. While many of us are looking forward to getting back to normal life, for many caregivers, staying at home will still be enforced due to their 24/7 caregiving responsibilities. The HCS Memory Care at Home program is having a very big impact on these caregivers and their family members, and I would just like to share a couple of their reactions. "I'm over the moon excited," said one caregiver. "In the past 14 months, I've had to be here 24/7 caring for my husband. Now I have 3 hours a week to see friends, get a massage, and do things for me." A daughter who is a caregiver for her mother said that she and her husband were able to go out for a drive alone together for the first time in a year. Family members are restored, certainly with their respite breaks, but they're equally excited at how the aides have been able to engage their loved ones in activities. Our memory care home aide got one 97-year-old tapping her feet to music and playing a simple card game for some mental stimulation, and doing a balloon toss, which helps her range of motion and exercising. One gentleman who was just sitting or sleeping all day, sitting in front of the TV, enjoyed an art project with an aide who brought all the art supplies with her for this activity. The aide recognized his innate craftiness and got a wooden truck from Home Depot that they put together on her next visit. And he walked to the mailbox and back for the first time in a year with the encouragement of our aide. A nurse at Cheshire Medical Center who recently learned about the program from Mary Lucas said to Mary, who is the nurse who is heading this program, "Do you know how many people are out there who need this?" Well, we do. And thanks to the 100 Women Who Care, we're able to respond to that need. So thank you very much for this very generous donation.
Mary, if you want to, you can start whenever you'd like.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I was just having Susan and Serene speak,
Okay.
but it's a wonderful thing. And what they said was right on.
Okay.
So
And I
she's
want to thank you.
She's keeping us honest. That's what
Yeah.
And you're doing the work in the trenches, Mary.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you. It's certainly very, very heartwarming and heartening to hear what's being done for that population that needs our help so badly, both those who have memory issues as well as their caregivers. So thank you to HCS for all your hard work on that.
Okay.
In a moment, Courtney is going to announce the organization that you have chosen this evening. Depending on which organization you've chosen, there may be an option to make an online donation or sending a check to me, either one. If you make the online donation, I want you to know that typically there's a 3% charge to the organization. And so therefore they often only get about $48.50 of your $50 donation. A number of our members choose to add that on and make a slightly larger donation than the $50 so that the organization can take full advantage of that full $50. There will be a link to the donation page, the online donation page of the organization that's chosen, if that's available, in the email that goes out tomorrow, also on our website and also on our Facebook page. If you choose to send the check, please make it out to the selected organization, not to 100+ Women Who Care, and mail it to me. You'll see my address on the screen shortly, and again, you'll find it in all of our communications. Just FYI, all nominations that we accept are 501c3 organizations, and we vet them to double check on that. Normally, I now remind you that the recipient organization is required to agree not to add you to their mailing lists, though they will have your contact information in order to acknowledge your gift. If they violate that agreement, they will not be considered for a future gift from us ever. That rule still applies, but we have to say that if you make an online donation, there's an outside chance that they may not know that you are part of 100+ Women. And so until we unravel that, and which we do eventually, you may end up on a mailing list. That's happened only one time in all the time that we've done that, and we quickly corrected it. And just a reminder, you're most welcome to make your donations for greater than $50, and you're most welcome to make more than one donation to any of the nominated organizations or organizations that presented in addition to the one that's selected. So mark your calendars for August 2nd. And now, Courtney, drum roll, the honored organization this evening is?
Keene Housing Kids Collaborative.
Oh, thank you. And congratulations to them. And thank you to our other presenting organizations and to all of our nominated organizations. So thank you all for attending. It's just been delightful. I was watching the participants. I think we had 110 people at one point on our call tonight. So that's pretty exciting to us. And have a wonderful evening.